After the conference, we were feeling like very inspired by everything. It's obviously a magical week. We had a great time. And once you get a taste of that, you're like, I want to be a part of this somehow. And it's a little daunting at first because it's mostly techie people that work in tech, making wallets. And so it's a little, hard to break into. And but when we had first met, we had met at BitBlock Boom in Dallas, and we bonded over the fact that there wasn't really swag that we wanted to buy there. And it was just kind of a pipe dream. It's like, we should make some shirts. And then after adopting Bitcoin a few months later, the idea came up again. We didn't do anything with it for a while. We waited maybe 6 months or so, mulled around. And by that time, I had been visiting her in Mexico back and forth. And now I was visiting for longer periods of time. And we started, hey, let's make some shirts and it'll be fun to wear at conferences.
I'm here with Carla and Blake, and it's kind of funny that it's today because I think it was a year ago that I actually met you guys after, I think it was after this, I can't remember if it was after the surf event or after the swim event, but we had the surf event. Okay, but last year we did the surf event on a Saturday, and and this year we switched. There's a different contest in another part of the country, so we got rid of the surf event, but we have the swim event today. Yep. So it's literally like a year later. We're sitting down, and we've got to catch up a little bit before this and hear your guys' interesting journey this past couple of years. So I'm super fascinated to dive in, but. First, would love for you guys to tell the audience about your Twitter love story.
Well, we met on, believe it or not, Bitcoin Twitter. I was diving deep into Bitcoin Twitter because I realized that it existed and there's all these cool people out there making great content. It was like an education fest. And then I realized, hey, there's this beautiful lady on here too, and
that's even more rare than Bitcoin itself.
Yeah. And so I was liking a lot of posts, commenting on a lot of posts, saying, hey, you remember me? And then it's kind of funny. There used to be what's called fleets on Twitter where you can like post pictures, and it's like stories on Instagram. Mm-hmm. And I did the old slide into the DMs.
And so that actually worked.
It worked. Yeah. It worked. We'll see. I don't know. My game's not that good, but.
Well, it must be. You told someone in Bitcoin Twitter, so the odds got to be like 30-1 there. So.
Yeah, there weren't a lot of ladies back at the time.
Well, even now, there's more now, but still.
Yeah. Comparative, there's a lot now, but still very small.
Yeah. But
you're living every Bitcoiner's dream to meet a fellow Bitcoiner on Bitcoin
We're all getting
Twitter.
Girlfriends. That's the saying.
And you did it in a down market. So
we survived the bear. That's the key thing. That's the ultimate test of a relationship.
When was this that you started sliding into her DMs?
Summer of 2021?
Yes, correct. Bitcoin was around 45. We were all getting very excited. Mm-hmm. And I was.
So could you tell, like right off the bat, like this guy it's not just a friendly banter. He's interested in me.
Maybe. I guess you kind of have to assume.
She probably had a lot of the DMs. So she was filtering.
No, at the time I was getting just very excited to be able to talk to other Bitcoiners because I had just gotten into the Bitcoin Twitter space, and I had been into Bitcoin for a year before that, but I had never met another Bitcoiner. So I was getting very excited at the idea of meeting other Bitcoiners and going to a conference. And so I was talking to another girl, Margie. She was the first girl that I started talking to about Bitcoin, and she's the one that told me about BitBlock Boom. Okay. And then I started talking to him, and I was like, so are you going to that conference?
And I was like, yes, I am now. I've been going this whole time.
Yeah. And we started talking, and we talked for 2 months until the conference day, and yeah, we hit it off right away.
Well,
when
those
we met.
tickets usually sell out early. Was it hard for you to get a ticket? Did you have to bribe somebody to give up their spot?
I had to talk to the organizers,
Okay.
because at one point we both didn't have tickets, and then she won a ticket like
The
a couple
day-
days before, a day
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
And I was like, now I'm screwed.
Yeah.
My whole plan.
I was
And-
gonna go to hang
Not
out.
only am I not going to go, but
Yeah.
she's going to go, and somebody's going to poach her from
Yeah,
me.
for sure. That was the thought process. And so then I actually talked to what's his name from Bebop Boom, Gary.
Gary,
Yeah.
yes.
And I found him early in the morning when he was setting up, and I bought a ticket directly from him.
So actually at the conference.
Yes.
yeah, at the conference.
Yeah, the things he does.
Yeah.
And that's why we're engaged now.
So yeah, we hit it off, and then she was living in Mexico at the time, and I was in Oregon, and we agreed that we wanted to keep seeing each other. So I started visiting, and the rest is history.
Yeah, he came to visit me a month and a half later, and we spent a week together and then flew straight to Adopting Bitcoin in 2021.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a very...
So you didn't know each other that long.
Not really,
Or
no.
hadn't spent that much time in
No.
person before.
Yeah.
Spent about a week
new.
together in
Yeah.
Dallas, and then
Okay.
we knew we were going to be close. And
Yeah.
then I arrived in Mexico, and it was like Adopting Bitcoin. This is the first conference, like 2 weeks later, and she was the one that was like, should we go?
Yeah.
And we went for it, and it started a journey, started a fire for us. So
Yeah.
So how were you introduced to Bitcoin? You said it was about a year prior to.
So it was my dad who introduced me to Bitcoin. He had known about Bitcoin for a while. He had Bitcoin, and then he kept telling me about it, like here and there, but I wasn't truly interested at the time because I was traveling and I wasn't paying attention, to be honest. And then in 2019, he told me about it again, and he insisted that I at least buy $100 worth of Bitcoin. He's like, just buy a little, and then take your time to dive into it and learn about it.
And your dad, I think you mentioned before, I don't know if he's from Argentina or was living in Argentina. Do you think
Yeah.
that influenced his?
For sure. I
Yes.
mean, our family, like in Argentina, we know what inflation is like. We still do, unfortunately. We left Argentina.
Yeah, it's gotten even worse lately.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Skyrocketed,
unfortunately,
which-
it's
hard to believe.
that's a whole other story too. But we left Argentina in the year 2000 during the
That was
Corralito,
right.
the bank runs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think the first time I went there was 2001 or 2,
Okay, so
and it was right after that.
Yeah.
And I think it was
Yeah.
like 3-1 at that time or something. But,
Man,
Yeah.
things have changed.
Oh man, have they changed?
but
So-
even then, it had gone from 1-1, and then that's when it just kind of so.
yeah.
And so you guys left
Easier.
during that time
Yes, we did. We
because of that, or it just happened.
Yeah,
to-
I mean, my parents always wanted a better future for me, and they
Yeah.
knew that Argentina didn't have that to offer. And so, in the year 2000, we left. We moved to Italy. And eventually, fast forward to 2019 when he told me about Bitcoin. And like I said, I bought a bit of it, and then it took me a few months until I actually decided to learn and actually understand what I had. And like most people, you learn about Bitcoin, then you learn about other coins. You're like, oh my gosh, this is cool. And and then eventually you get hurt, and then you're like, okay, wait, no, I need to focus on one. There's only one that actually makes a difference. It's completely different compared to the other noise that
Yeah.
there's around. And that's when I became a maxi, and it was in 2020. And when we dipped to 5K, I was very happy. So was my dad. So yeah. And then it was a year later that I found Bitcoin Twitter.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what about you?
My story is not quite as cute or nice. Well, let's say I was pursuing some medicinal products on the Silk Road. So that's the way I was looking. And I found that Bitcoin was a tool
You
for
took
that.
the Peter McCormick route.
Yeah. So that was in 2015, which seems crazy now,
Yeah.
thinking back to it.
Yeah.
And didn't actually get the products and then sold the Bitcoin. So I made that huge mistake.
So sorry to interrupt you, but it was
Yeah.
making me think. There, a buddy of mine, his son worked at the surf shop, and he was telling me that one of the guys working there had a similar story, but didn't sell his Bitcoin. So he's like, this guy working my surf shop has like a couple $1 million in Bitcoin because he was going to buy drugs at one point
Yeah.
and couldn't actually do it.
Lucky story. Yeah, no.
So you sold yours.
I sold it.
Yeah.
So it's not happening on either end. So, but that
Do
was,
you remember what the price of Bitcoin was?
it was $240. So
Painful.
so that's a painful mistake, but it was my first touch point.
Yeah.
So, and then I forget exactly how long after, but I was hearing about Bitcoin, and I listened to a lot of podcasts, and so I was listening to Antonopoulos, and I realized that this is a really cool thing. And he was talking about like wild ideas, like refugees can now take their money and cross a border without getting, stuck or having to fork over their money, or they don't have to bring gold bars with them or something like that. So I recognized that as a cool tool, but that still didn't mean anything to me because as an American, I didn't have those problems. And so
Just
gradually,
curious,
yeah.
how hard was it to buy Bitcoin then? Because I remember looking at it a couple times early on, and it seemed too complicated. Was it pretty easy at that point?
I used Coinbase,
Okay.
and I had been told what to do, and I don't remember it being hard. I don't remember the specifics, but it wasn't too hard. So I bought a few coins, and and then next few steps happen. I get rid of it, but it was my first touch point, and then I started learning things about it. And then around 2017, I was like, oh, I'm gonna get rich. And so I bought a bunch of coins, and I was like doing weird stuff like signing up for weird text messages when the price would go up. So I came in for the number go up, and then did well with that, sold some coins, and thought I was the man, Thought I was like, I'd figured it out. I'd done something
smartest
cool.
guy out
Smartest
there.
guy in the room. And so then it took a few more touch points before I really began to understand it and see it for what it was as money. And in 2019 was really when it came together for me, when I realized that, oh, this changes everything. This is the only asset you should be holding. It's money, and it changes the world, really. So.
And you were working at that time when you guys met, or what were you guys doing
Yeah.
in the fiat world?
I was working as a freelance writer and still as a freelance photographer too.
And where were you based out of?
Still in Mexico.
In Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was in Oregon.
I was in Oregon. I actually wasn't working at the time. I was holed up with my parents during lockdowns, and that's when I became crazy obsessed with Bitcoin, because I was then discovering Bitcoin Twitter, and there was just so much information that I needed earlier in my journey, and I was just devouring information. And I started like a little newsletter with my family, like emailing them about Bitcoin and trying to get them on Bitcoin. And I wasn't working, so it was the perfect time where I went around like to all my family members and was orange pilling them. Not all of them get it, but they have Bitcoin now, so in a secure way, which is, they'll thank me down the road. But so I was just full on in Bitcoin, like devouring it for 6 months.
So you kind of were working as a Bitcoin
I was working,
evangelist.
I was a consultant, or I was their
For the
their
family.
Bitcoin financial advisor.
So what did your friends think when you told them that you met some guy on Bitcoin Twitter? Were they scared for you?
A little, yeah, for sure. The usual, like, be careful. But, I kept telling them, like, I'm going to meet them at an event, at a big conference. So it's not like it's going to be a very private thing.
Yeah.
They were obviously just trying to warn me, but I did anyway, and I'm glad I did.
I remember the first time we had Miles Suter that works at Cash App. He had reached out early on, and we had like talked a bunch on Twitter, and he was coming down and he was going to stay with us. And so I told my wife, yeah, this guy's coming down to stay with us. She's like, oh, how do you know him? I'm like, oh, I met him on Twitter. She's like, what? No, we're not having somebody stay with in our house with us that you met on Twitter.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, he's a great guy. I can tell. She's like, you're insane.
Understandably.
Yeah. But it's I guess if you're not on Bitcoin Twitter, you don't understand
get
the
it.
type of
Yes.
deep connections that
Exactly.
happen there. And so
And how it's like seamless when you meet them in person.
Yeah.
We always
Yeah.
talk about
Oh,
this.
yeah.
It's like when you meet Bitcoiners, you could be complete opposites from different places of the world, different skin colors, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But when you connect fundamentally on life, it's very easy to be around Bitcoiners because you all kind of look through that same prism, and it makes conversation and being around each other really easy, which
Yeah.
is something we've gotten to know over the last
Yeah.
year. It's been great and relatively easy.
Yeah, I mean, your values are already aligned.
Exactly.
Ours were like by the fact that he could tell the way I saw the world through my tweets. He could tell already that we'll get along.
She's super toxic.
And so yeah, once you're like the fact that our values aligned right away, it made everything super super easy for us. But I mean, we're still surprised that my parents let me travel to El Salvador
weird.
for the first time with a stranger that I had just met. So
But then after that trip, we got them to travel to El Salvador. So they
Really?
came
Yes.
about 5-6 months later, and obviously
Yeah.
they speak good Spanish. So they
well, and I guess if your dad was a Bitcoiner, then
Yeah,
he
yeah.
had,
Yeah.
he had
exactly.
to see it too, to see the magic.
So what
Yeah,
did your parents think?
They really liked it. They were surprised because, as most people, they had heard only bad things
Yeah.
about El Salvador. But then after they heard about our experience here, they said, okay, we're going to give it a try. And they were kind of doing a visa run from Mexico. And so,
So they were in Mexico also.
yes,
Okay.
yes, they came to visit.
They escaped lockdowns as well.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah. And so they came to San Salvador. They only stayed for a few days, but the experience that they had was quite surprising for them. They got to talk to some locals who were super friendly to them, and they invited them to have dinner, and they took them around the city.
Nice.
They showed them around, by car, and they were showing them like where Bukele lives, and but yeah, they had a very different experience compared to ours already, because when we came, we stayed in San Salvador for a few days before the conference, and we went downtown. We were walking around just to explore the city, and we saw a lot of the street markets were all over downtown, and it was very, very crowded.
That was before they'd cleaned things up.
Yes, exactly. So, whenever we'll be walking around, especially in the afternoon, people will come up to us and be like, okay, just be careful, don't walk that way, or don't go to this part of town. They will always try to warn us.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool to see that. Like, hey,
Yeah,
just make sure
it
if
was
they
really
see us
nice.
walking in a direction, they're like, maybe not, no further. It's like pretty considerate of people.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because we stood out, especially him being his height and skin color. And so it was really nice of them. But that's the experience that we had. And so we told them, like, just be careful here and there, but, we think you're going to enjoy it. And when they came and they started sending us pictures, and the streets were completely clean, and we're like very surprised. And then they told us that this family was very happy to take them all around town and show them around, because they had never seen the town this clean before. So they were excited to go downtown and walk around, because they hadn't done that
Yeah.
in years.
And see places they
And
hadn't been off limits for the last 10
Exactly.
years.
Like
So they
we-
were stopping around and they were taking pictures, and like they were asking my parents to take their pictures, because they were just so excited and proud. And they kept telling them, like, yeah, a year ago we couldn't have done this because they could have robbed us here or there. It's
They didn't feel comfortable enough to take pictures in the downtown square.
yeah.
And now they're pulling over, getting out of the car, going in front of the square, and having some foreigners ask them to take pictures of themselves. It's a pretty cool example of the transformation. And so
Yeah.
that was another big turning point for us. We're like, wow, things are moving. Things are actually happening there. And we didn't have the full context, or if we didn't have the context, we wouldn't have been able to know that,
Yeah.
So you guys came for adopting Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, which year? Was that the first year?
The
First year.
one.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
2021.
Yeah.
And overall, your impression, other than the being dangerous on the other side, I'm assuming you guys had an amazing conference. The Adopting Bitcoin conference is, I think, the best in the world. Obviously, I'm biased, but was it a good conference for you guys?
Yeah, so we didn't actually, we decided to come here very late, like a week before. So we didn't have tickets to the conference. And so, but we still wanted to see San Salvador. So that's why we stayed there for a while. And then we said, okay, we're going to be in El Zonte for the third day when all the Bitcoiners come and we'll meet them there. And, and so that's what we did. We came here the day before the third day. So on the second day of the conference, we came here and we got to walk around and meet the locals and the guys from the Hope House. We met Chimbera. He showed us around. We talked to the mayor. And so we were very surprised. It was a great experience. And just to see the kindness and the welcoming feeling that we had here.
And it was kind of pivotal because we got to meet those guys without all the noise of the conference.
Yeah.
And immediately we're in the back of a truck with Chimbera going up a mountain. He's like, you have a drone? I need you for a little bit. And so we're taking photos for him. We're meeting the locals. Then we meet the mayor. So it was a very intimate experience. And we got to see the Hope House for all that it is and start spending Bitcoin, which now you look back at that, it's like, it was so cool to spend Bitcoin in a very tiny, almost village,
Yeah.
and you're getting pupusas from a place that doesn't even look like a real business yet. And it says there's a strike sign behind the lady making pupusas and we're spending Bitcoin. And that was like a magical moment. And now we look back at that and we spend Bitcoin all the time. And it's pretty cool to look back on that.
And also
wow.
like on the first year, things were a little glitchy still, with Lightning payments.
Yeah.
Not all the QR codes were working.
Yeah, the printed ones they
Yeah.
had would
Yeah.
only work with certain wallets.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it was, a learning experience for everyone.
For us too, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Because we were still new as well with the idea of having to pay for everything in Bitcoin. So, coming back here every year since for every Adopting Bitcoin, we've seen the change. And, nowadays you want to pay in Bitcoin, you just do it in 2 seconds. So
Yeah, it's
it works.
faster than anything
Yes.
else.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So between the first Adopting Bitcoin and the second Adopting Bitcoin, where were you guys living? What were you when did you get engaged? I don't know what year, how that story played out. What was that?
So after the conference, I'll start.
Yeah, go for it.
After the conference, we were feeling very inspired by everything. It's obviously a magical week. We had a great time. And once you get a taste of that, you're like, I want to be a part of this somehow. And it's a little daunting at first because it's mostly techie people that work in tech, making wallets. And so it's a little, hard to break into. And but when we had first met, we had met at BitBlock Boom in Dallas, and we bonded over the fact that there wasn't really swag that we wanted to buy there. And it was just kind of a pipe dream. It's like, we should make some shirts. And then after adopting Bitcoin a few months later, the idea came up again. We didn't do anything with it for a while. We waited maybe 6 months or so, mulled around. And by that time, I'd been visiting her in Mexico back and forth. And now I was visiting for longer periods of time. And we started, hey, let's make some shirts and it'll be fun to wear at conferences. And at some point during that year, we made 2 shirts, one the Bitcoin Beach shirt and then one for the Hope House that represented the Hope House. And Chimbera from the Hope House reached out to us before the conference and said, hey, can we use your design? We're saying, of course. There it is right there. And
I love that shirt.
yeah,
Sweet
because
design.
we wanted to display, the symbol of the Hope House means so much, and we just wanted to put it out there. And we didn't think too much of it. They were gonna print some shirts and sell them at the conference, and then all of a sudden we saw a bunch of people wearing them, and we're like, oh, it got the wheels turning, and we're like, maybe there's something to this. Like, at least it gives the place more representation. Not that the Hope House needed more, but it's like we want to bring more awareness. The more the awareness, the better. That this is a real place. You can spend Bitcoin, and
Plus, people when they come, they want
to
something
Yeah.
like
Absolutely.
that, like a memory.
And what a
keepsake they
good
take with them.
way to to symbolize that or to commemorate that. you
Yeah,
know?
some of the people that we saw wearing them, they were telling us that they really liked it because it was kind of like a souvenir for them to bring home,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And also at the time, we had done a fundraiser for the Hope House. And so all the profits from the sales of those T-shirts for a week or two, I forget now, were donated to the Hope House, and we raised, I forget. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, we sold 12 Bitcoin Beach T-shirts and 3 Hope House T-shirts.
We were a little smaller
2
back
million
then,
sales.
so
Yeah, we're
we,
tiny.
we took the sales for like a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just like a cool way to give back, you know, like you
Oh,
just
yeah.
see, you're inspired by these places, and you know, it's a small token of our appreciation for it, but it kind of started a fire in us is that, oh, we went to Bitcoin Beach and now we're seeing, oh, there's other communities that are popping up. And she was the one that's got really curious and started looking into them. And we're like, oh, let's go visit another one. And that's when the ball got rolling. And we went to Panajachel in Guatemala, and we made a T-shirt for them.
So that was after the second Adopting Bitcoin
Yes.
conference?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was February this year, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, we went there. We had heard not a lot actually, because it was still a little bit unknown. They were growing pretty fast. They grew
Yeah.
very fast in just a year. All thanks to the work by Eleazar and Patrick. And by the time we got there were about 70 merchants that already accepted Bitcoin. And yeah,
I know. I was, I'd been to Lake Atiglan, several times before, but since COVID, I hadn't been to Guatemala, and then I
Right.
was seeing on the Bitcoin Beach at that time now Blink wallet,
Yeah.
the map, and all these just like. I was
Yes,
like, what
they
is
were
going
popping
on
up.
there? I mean,
Yeah.
they just.
The same thing happened
Yeah.
to us. And
Yeah.
again, you kind of go in there a little naive, like, what are we going to get into? And we arrived there. It's a kind of a journey. And we arrived there, and first thing you get when you arrive in town, you see Bitcoin signs everywhere. And that was like a kind of a key piece for us, like, oh, not everyone uses Bitcoin, but they've seen the sign.
Yeah.
They're gonna know
Yeah.
that there's something to Bitcoin. And then you get a little further into town, and there's a whole building painted in orange with a bee, and we're like, okay, this is cool. And then we met Eleazar,
yeah.
and he's absolute gem of a human. He's like salt of the earth, amazing guy.
Hard
And
worker.
start to
Oh
get
my
to know
gosh.
him,
Yeah.
and then you realize that he's been orange pilling all these businesses. Which, if anyone has orange pilled anyone, or especially a business, it's very hard to do. And within a year, he had got 70 businesses, a completely foreign technology to these businesses, to use Bitcoin. And this place is unique because it has all the things that would make adoption go well. It's a tourist attraction, beautiful lake, mostly cash-based community, really high fees for the ones that can't accept.
And there's a
credit
lot
cards.
of expats that live there year round and have
Expats.
trouble getting
Yes.
money.
That's another key
in.
piece.
Yes. Yeah.
Another key
Yeah.
piece. And so it just kind of has all the things that would make a experiment
Yeah.
thrive. And so we saw, again, another magic moment for us. And then you add in the fact that there's transportation. You can get around on a tuk-tuk with Bitcoin. You can take a boat across the
Did they
lake
have
on
the
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin boat yet?
Yes.
when
Yes,
you were
they
there?
did.
Yes.
So we got on the boat. There's a barbershop that accepts Bitcoin, and that was right across our Airbnb when we arrived.
Yeah, that
late
was
at
the
night.
first thing that we saw when we arrived, so that was very surprising already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then by the time we were there too, me Premier Bitcoin was teaching a class. A guy named Rudy was teaching a class there and using the Me Premier Bitcoin curriculum. And so then we got to see a class operate.
Yeah, and that was the first class outside of El Salvador that was running Mi Primer Bitcoin's curriculum. So that was very special.
we got to see.
Did you get a ride in the Bitcoin
Oh yeah,
tuk-tuk?
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Which was amazing. Yeah. And then we got to go see the miners that are working there. There's
Yeah.
the miners right here.
Yeah.
So we met with Rudy and Eleazar. And as you know, another key piece to this place is the fact that they're mining Bitcoin off of spent cooking oil that previously was going into gutters. This is cooking oil from the restaurants. Previously was going into gutters and making its way into the lake and polluting the lake.
Yeah.
And now the Eleazar, on top of all his orange peeling, is going around collecting used cooking oil, putting it in an engine, filtering it, and then mining Bitcoin off of it, which is like just another, it's a small thing,
Yeah.
but it's a huge educational piece and something to go see while you're there. And so all these things are happening. We're like, oh my gosh, how is this possible
Yeah,
in such a short
I
amount of time?
love that they're doing that because I actually, the business I have in the U.S. is a food business, and we
Yeah.
go through, when we're operating at full capacity, we'll fill up like a 50-gallon barrel drum like every couple days
Yeah.
of used cooking oil.
Right.
Yeah.
So you realize how much of
How
that
much.
and yeah, especially if they're just dumping it into the lake, which is going to be the easiest thing for them to do.
Exactly.
So now instead of it being this waste product,
They're
putting
preventing it
to
from
good
being
use.
polluted.
Yeah.
The thing that
Yeah.
people come for is that lake. It's an absolutely gorgeous lake surrounded by volcanoes. It's beautiful. You destroy that, and that could really hurt the community.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, and the idea is to start mining Bitcoin and also start projects of cleanup of the lake and use the mine sats to pay the volunteers that want to help in the cleanup process. So, yeah, it's a real grassroots movement that's happening
Definitely.
there, and it was very, very impressive for us.
And they copied the template from Bitcoin Beach.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we
Well, Eleazar came down and spent a week with
Yeah.
with Chimbera and the rest of the team
yeah, yeah.
there in
Yeah.
the beginning, and we've tried to do everything we can to help support what they're doing there.
Yeah.
We're super excited about it.
I mean,
Yeah.
that I think down the road that'll completely change the history of Guatemala. I think there'll be statues of these people one day.
Yeah, because now they're expanding too. They're trying to bring adoption to beach towns as well, so have like
Surrounding,
their own little Bitcoin beach.
And
too.
I don't have a recent update on this, but the city got approved to teach 300 municipal employees the Me Prepare Bitcoin diploma. And so
Amazing.
the city, and they can use city funding for that. That's
Yeah.
incredible. It's like, it's
Yeah.
so cool to see, and just really excited for what they're
I
doing.
know Patrick was pestering the mayor nonstop. He was like,
Yeah.
Well, you got to
he's
do
like,
that as Bitcoiners.
Hey, we got to get it. We got to get this on. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
he was out there doing the work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did it.
So how long did you guys spend there?
A week or so.
About
weeks?
Almost 2 weeks, I
Oh,
think.
okay, 2 weeks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we traveled, like we stayed in Panajachel, but we also traveled to nearby towns.
Okay.
And we went to San Marcos. They have an ATM there. It's the only one. Well,
Now there's
the
another
only one they had at the time.
Yeah.
Now they have one in Pana that allows people, to on and off ramp, which is very, very handy.
Yeah.
But yeah, we explored the lake and all the little towns around. Bitcoin adoption wasn't as prevalent as in Pana, but we tried to orange pill some merchants and gave them Eleazar's contact, because some of them were actually very interested. And we did our part,
Yeah.
and then eventually we told
Sometimes
them,
just
Eleazar.
asking people, hey, do you accept Bitcoin?
Yeah.
It plants that seed.
Yeah.
They
Exactly.
say no that time, but
You
Yeah.
tell a
after
story
a while, they're like, okay, I better start accepting Bitcoin.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
and then you get the most established businesses in the area accepting, and then everyone's like, oh, I need to too. And like, I needed some sunglasses. Run into a shop, boom, pay in Bitcoin. It's like, okay, that's the fastest sunglasses I've ever bought. And this guy gets Bitcoin, and he was super stoked. And yeah, and then the ones that aren't accepting Bitcoin, we pestered a little bit in a kind way.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
fun because like we were in like a what'd you call it, like a little chocolate shop.
Yes.
Where a lady was selling chocolate, and we were like, "Do you accept Bitcoin?" As per usual.
Yeah.
And what'd she say? She was,
Yeah, she was like, "Oh no, Bitcoin, no, it's too complicated." And I was like, "But have you heard of Eleazar? He's been helping all the merchants on board." He said, "Oh yeah, the Bitcoin man. He's got Bitcoin on his forehead, always talking about." it."
so it shows you got to
Yeah.
pester them that she'll
Yeah.
eventually become a Bitcoiner. She'll eventually accept Bitcoin, and
Yeah,
that's how it works.
yeah. And I think for some reason we actually needed some cash
Yeah.
on the last day that we were there.
Yeah.
And oh man, waiting in line at the one ATM that like it was kind of like going back in time to primitive technology because, you figured you've been using Bitcoin every day of the week, and then all of a sudden you have to rely on this little machine that's going to give you paper money, and the fees are high and the lines are long, and then you have to rely on this paper and like make sure you don't lose it, and you're reminded of how inconvenient fiat can be.
And Carla's traveled a lot in her life.
Yeah.
And so she's had every experience out there when it comes to using fiat and finding an ATM and getting scammed and having ATMs not work and being stranded. And it was just another reminder.
Yeah, and that actually inspired the article that I wrote for Bitcoin Magazine as well. So traveling on Bitcoin and the difference that it makes, how easier it is. That's
noticed that the last few times I've gone places, even I feel like the ATMs have gotten worse. It used to be easy, just take some money out, and I just wasn't paying attention, and I got like socked with like $80 in fees for like a $400 withdrawal. I mean, it was like criminal, but I didn't, you're not really paying attention, and it's, and you don't even know what the current conversion rate is. And at the end, I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Or you're someone like me who's used to American ATMs, and the card pops out before you can get the money, and it's like you have to pull the card out before the money. And so then in these foreign places, or in these other countries, I'll just pull out my cash. I'm like, I've got the card in my phone or in my wallet. And I walk away without my card. So, that's more of a personal issue. But
I've done that in El Salvador a couple times. And it's funny you mentioned that because I never thought about it before. But somebody was down here and they're like, the ATM here are crazy. They don't give you your card before you get your money. And so you leave it there. I was like, that's why I left my card.
Or you have the experience, which is pretty funny. After we were at Bitcoin Lake, we went to Bitcoin Island in the Philippines in Boracay. And the first day we were there, so funny. It was like, it was meant to happen. I go to pull out cash just for the rare occasion, or hopefully the rare occasion that I don't get to spend Bitcoin. And my card is jammed in the ATM so hard. And we're looking like, oh no. Like, but then we look to the left and there's a security guard at like a building down the way. And he's like, oh yeah, I'll come get it. Like as if this has happened many times. Brings pliers, has the perfect technique, pulls the card out of the ATM as if it's a normal day. So it's like, as a Bitcoiner, these are comical situations.
And even there on the island, so we didn't use that ATM, because it was impossible. We went to another one, and that was broken. We went to another one, didn't have any cash, and so we had to go to a fourth one. And again, waiting in line because it seemed like it was the only ATM working at least in that part of the island. So the experience just was not pleasant. At least you didn't break the card.
So did you guys go straight from Guatemala to Boracay? Are you on this like tour of Bitcoin circular economies, or what was the
almost
timeline there?
We went to Bitcoin Island at the end of March. Okay. So like 3 weeks after we came back from Bitcoin Lake. There was a conference, the Bitcoin Retreat. It was the first Bitcoin only conference.
Yes. I wanted to go, but I'd been traveling so much. So it's and that's a long
journey. It took us a while to recover from the jet lag. But that was a 2-day conference, and we were working a booth. We were selling our t-shirts.
For the shirts? Okay.
Yes,
So at this point, you guys had decided this is what we're doing.
Yes. So after we came back from Bitcoin Lake, we decided to start working on a t-shirt. But because we didn't have enough time, we started working on the one for Bitcoin Island. And so we had it ready, went to the conference. We had that one.
So did you have them printed there? Or,
yes.
Or?
We had them printed there.
And there's a funny story with that because now we've had a year of doing this. We've had a lot of experiences, but this is one of our first ones. And it was magical because before this conference, Pouch had just announced a partnership with Strike. And so we knew they were somewhat legit. We were going in kind of skeptical, like what's going on here? Mm-hmm. We didn't know if these are scammers or not, but they announced their partnership with Strike. And when we go to these places, we usually work with a local manufacturer just because it's the easiest.
Real quick, did you meet them at all at the Adopting Bitcoin conference?
No.
The Pouch guys?
No.
Okay, because they were speaking there that year. They had spoken. I can't remember who it was, but yeah.
No.
Yeah.
So you didn't know anything
Probably
about
should have
them.
met them. No,
Yeah.
we didn't know
Okay.
anything about them, but by then there was enough material on them online, and we knew it was somewhat legit. And we
And they
were.
reached out. As
They reached
well.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what happened.
They wanted
Bill-
me to
Bill and Ethan from
be part of a
Pouch.
panel. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's what happened.
Yeah, and then we suggested making the T-shirts as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
But yeah, we were in Germany at the time, and we were trying to work with a local manufacturer, which is not easy.
In the Philippines.
In the Philippines, because we wanted to get some T-shirts printed there. It wasn't a large amount, but we were on a train, a moving train in Germany with pretty low quality internet, like a little pocket Wi-Fi, and we got the bank details of the Philippines bank of the manufacturer, pulled out my Strike account, put in two things, his bank account number and the guy's name, and sent dollars over Bitcoin straight into Pouch, which puts it into his bank account immediately. As opposed to doing a wire, we have to fill out tons of information. You have to make all the stars align to get it to go through. You have to have good internet, all these things. And in 30,
and then it'll still
60
probably get
seconds-
held up.
and it's still
Yeah.
to get, and then you have no clue if it's going to get there. And I pulled it out, sent it in 60 seconds, sent what essentially was a wire, but clearly it was using Lightning, and boom, it was in his account. The easiest process ever. And we haven't had that same experience in all places. But yeah, it showed, it was another magic moment where it's like, this is
So was
so
the
cool.
supplier surprised, or they just didn't
No.
even understand?
Well,
how you
first
were
I
saying?
tried to get him to accept Bitcoin in emailing, but realized that was a lost cause. But he didn't need to know Bitcoin was
Yeah.
being used because we were just using Bitcoin Rails. And so that was a really cool moment because Pouch is set up along with Strike to focus on remittances first because they have billions of dollars going to
Yeah.
the Philippines being remitted there, and the amount in fees is astronomical. It's in the billions of fees.
Yeah.
And so Strike and the Pouch partnership makes that go away. And so had that experience right before the conference, and then
Yeah,
Were
we
they-
spent.
And then how was your time in Boracay? Is Boracay? Or
Boracay.
Boracay. How was
Yeah.
your time in Boracay?
It was great, the second part, because, well, we got sick. So that kind of made it a little tough.
Yeah.
Right after the conference, we had to take like 3 days off. And we decided to extend our stay to actually enjoy it because we arrived the day or two before the conference, and we worked, and we got to listen to the speakers. They had a lot of locals talking about their experience with Pouch and with Bitcoin. Found out that some of them were already holding Bitcoin, which was great news. And yeah, then we got sick, recovered, and then extended our trip to actually experience the island. And so we went to multiple shops, and we got a little bike, went to different parts of the island. We went parasailing, which we paid in Bitcoin, on a moving tuk-tuk as well. On the way there, we paid in Bitcoin. And yeah, we really loved it. It's a very touristy and small island, but it's, that's us paying for the
On your moving
activity.
tuk-tuk?
Yeah, there it is.
it's another place
Easy.
where like it has all the elements. It's the Pouch house. It's a place where it's got all the elements to be a thriving Bitcoin community. It's going to take time. There's going to be a lot of hiccups, but that area is used to using QR codes and paying with phone, albeit a very clunky, slow, more expensive system. But Pouch is kind of Trojan horsing that place because they're saying we have a better way to pay, and that's how they onboarded so many merchants. But again, they're used to having a lot of QRs. You walk into a store there and there's 8 QRs at the desk.
Yeah.
And so it's just like another way to Trojan horse their way in there. And then it's just cool. I mean, we got to spend Bitcoin all around the island. Some merchants had difficulties, as you'd expect. But you get to meet new Bitcoiners that are
with
understanding.
a little effort, can you live most of your life there in Bitcoin? Did it seem like?
Yeah,
I mean,
actually-
Bill, who is a co-founder of Pouch, he lived for 30 days on Bitcoin there only. Again, like
more.
you have a lot of
Yeah.
like you can find all the merchants on BTC Maps, the app. Some kind of forget how to use Bitcoin because they're orange pill and you have to do some re-education. But you can get it. It works. And now, I mean, the future is really bright for that area, and they've expanded to other islands simply because it's a better technology. Not that they're all orange pilled or that they're all holding Bitcoin, but it's just better and works more seamlessly, faster. And so we think, and we were just really impressed with the team and that's behind it. And
Yeah, but they started Bitcoin meetups as
no,
well
you're
abroad in other islands, and so nowadays there is adoption going on in different islands around the Philippines, and the law professor from the Silliman University, Florin Hilbey, he's a staunch Bitcoiner, and
he was a
been-
speaker at the conference.
He was a
Okay.
speaker at the,
Wrote a book on Bitcoin.
that now is being read by a lot of people across the
Is
Philippines.
he
And
involved with like a Bitcoin house there that they have? I'm trying to remember. Was it
he's
the-
started a cafe, a Sats,
Sats Cafe.
Yeah.
That's what it was. At the HRF, Human Rights Foundation, put on an event in Nashville a couple months ago, and there was somebody from the Philippines that had this like meet space for Bitcoiners. I wonder if, for some reason, I thought he might have been a professor. I don't know if it's the same person. or if
Could
it's,
be.
There's also Bob and it
might have been Bob.
Bob and yeah, it'd be building on Bitcoin. Pickle.
Bob Spaces,
Bob Spaces,
Bigelow, yeah, and in Bangkok though.
Bangkok.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
it.
that's what
Yeah.
I was thinking.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Bangkok. Yeah.
Also a great place which we went to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
But yeah, after the conference, we were like, obviously, again, feeling the need to support. And Florin Hilbey turns out to be like an epic Bitcoiner.
Yeah.
Awesome guy. He's going to do amazing things for the Philippines. And he comes from the educational background. So he teaches at the College of Law, and he's orange pilling the College of Law. And then he started a Sats only cafe. You can't even pay in fiat there. You have to pay in Sats.
I think he might have been at the HRF event also, because I
Yeah.
remember that story of them.
Yeah,
having
underrated
yeah.
Bitcoiner,
Yeah, for sure.
and so
Yeah, and so we sold we made the Bitcoin Island T-shirt, and some of the proceeds went to their Sats Cafe, and because they were just starting, and nowadays they offer different types of coffee. Because at first it was just black coffee, but they took the time to teach the students working there, and yeah, now it's a great way to orange pill, or at least to trigger people's curiosity or other students' curiosity.
Yeah.
get them to start practicing. I mean,
Yeah,
it's new, so it's like it's fun to practice with Lightning.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's so great about Lightning is it's the experience is so great. When we started the project, we were doing everything on chain, and it was a
Rough.
little painful sometimes.
Yeah.
And they're like, wait, there's been a day, and why don't I have
Yeah,
it?
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Not the best user experience.
No.
So, but with
But-
Lightning, they're like, oh wow, like
We had that
Yeah.
same experience we went to a meetup in Guatemala, Bitcoin Lake, and there was like a kind of an older financial background, and he came to the meetup. Don't know if he knew anyone, but heard about it, and we got to talking with him, and we're like, "Oh, you're new, so let's get out our Lightning wallets and show you how it works." So we got the Blink wallet out, and I think he also had Blink, and Carla pulled out 5 sats, and sent it to him, and he saw it go from phone to phone, and he had one of those moments where it's like
Yeah.
the light bulb went on,
Yeah.
and he's like a financial person, so it's like
Yeah.
he
He was a
thinks of the
banker.
banker.
A banker, even better.
So you see, he's like, oh, his wheels are turning. He's already 10 steps down the road.
Yeah.
You know, so it's cool. It's like it's a fun like just test. You know.
Yeah, and he was trying to orange pill his kid as well.
Yeah.
Teenager, and he was like, "Yeah, I'm interested. First time hearing about Lightning. Never heard of it, but I'm trying to get my son to start learning about Bitcoin." I'm like, "Great, good for you for being here at the meetup." And that was one of the first ones there, and others regular ones every month.
And another neat thing that happened there, that I was thinking about it. There was like a younger kid and his girlfriend, wife, and he came to the meetup and he's like, "Okay, but how do I buy Bitcoin?" He has a business that's all cash based, And he's like, how do I buy it? And we were sitting there. It's like, oh, you just go to the local restaurants, people that are accepting Bitcoin, and you can buy it straight from them with your cash. And that could help them rebalance their cash register, you know? So it's like, you could just go in and buy Bitcoin off of these merchants that you want to hold a little more cash for the register. Pretty cool. It's like, so when people want it and they're looking for it, it's like, you find ways.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then we also eventually we managed to make the Bitcoin Lake t-shirt, and we did a fundraiser for that too. And so every time we go to one of these little communities, we like to make a t-shirt that represents them in a way, and so that they kind of have a little bit of an identity. And it's also to advertise, like give them some advertising, and encourage more Bitcoiners to go and visit and spend sats. And yeah, we
should show that one. If you type in the top Bitcoin Lake in the little search function to the right, right down a little bit in the website.
Oh, in here.
No, the little search function icon.
Yeah.
Just up to the right. That one.
There you
Just
go.
type in Bitcoin Lake because it's a fun shirt. It represents them well. Bitcoin Lake.
That's separate.
Yeah.
So at what point did you guys decide like this was going to be your thing, your business, that this was not just a hobby?
I think
there's a
after our
shirt.
experience at Bitcoin Lake, yeah.
Well, yeah. Once that happened, we knew we wanted to keep doing it. We didn't know if it could be viable or it would just be a passion project. We didn't really know. We still don't exactly know what we're doing.
Yeah.
But
So you
we
can
made that shirt and we raised some funds for them. And again, Carla, being investigator, was like, there's more of these communities popping up. And so then we're like, okay, the general idea is we'll go see them all. But quickly, within a month, we're like, oh, we'll never be able to see them all because
They're
within
popping up
2 months,
faster than-
within
Yes.
2 months, there was 10.
In a bear market.
And so that was not depressing, but it's exciting because we're stoked for the communities, but we're like, oh, there's no chance
Yeah.
we'll see them all. I think we've probably seen the most of anyone, or at least
Yeah, not as many as Paco.
not as many as Paco,
Yeah,
probably not as
definitely.
many as Joe Nakamoto.
yeah.
But we're up there. We're up there.
Yeah, we're
We're
trying.
dangerous.
Yeah.
So yeah, it started a kind of a fire within us, and at least wanted to go explore.
Need to do one that has like all the existing ones on one shirt with a little stamp. That
There's not enough real
That-
estate
yeah.
on a shirt for
that
that.
people can wear, and
Front
they
and
get a
back.
stamp at each place when they show up.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
that'd be cool.
Their Bitcoin
Yeah.
circular economy passport.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, so then
so-
over this last year, between the two adopting Bitcoins, we've been to Bitcoin Lake in Guatemala. We've been
Island.
Bitcoin Island in the Philippines, Bitcoin Jungle in Costa Rica.
That's the most recent one.
The most recent one.
Yes, but then we went to to Indonesia, in Bali.
The
It's
first,
not exactly like a Bitcoin community, but there's
Yeah.
been
but there's Bitcoiners there, and there's
Yeah.
activity happening. It's against the law to transact or use it for a business, but
and for a lot of
So you
people,
can own it, but you can't sell things in Bitcoin,
You
right?
can't
In
pay.
Yeah.
Bali.
yeah, you
yeah,
can't pay.
payments are banned.
Which makes it a little tough for
2018.
circular Bitcoin.
Yeah,
economy.
yeah.
Yes, which is weird because in 2014, a lot of people were already using Bitcoin payments.
That's what I'd
around the
heard. I'd
island.
heard that
Yeah,
it kind of sprung up there and
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
There was a little beef. They're saying we were the first Bitcoin island.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. And then in 2018, things, they slowed down a little because of the new law
Yeah.
that you can't use them. You can't use Bitcoin as
So it's
payment.
not as public. There's still some underground
But
things happening.
yeah, it's still happening.
The seeds were planted.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
But
So-
but we went there for the conference, the first Indonesian Bitcoin conference, and it was a total hit. Dea is the organizer.
Yeah, so I the year before they did one, but it was all virtual.
Virtual.
I believe.
Virtual, that's
So-
right. That's right.
Yeah.
I participated in a panel, and it was like I had to be up at the middle of the night because of the time change.
Yeah.
So I think it was
Yeah.
like midnight we were doing
Yeah.
Sounds
this
about
panel.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were super excited to do it in person. That was another one I wanted to go to, but
It's impossible.
such a haul to get there.
Yeah.
It's a track.
Yeah, definitely. No,
We-
but it was worth it. We're
Well,
very
Bali's
happy.
beautiful too.
We love
Gorgeous.
Bali. Yeah, we're
Gorgeous.
fortunate enough to
That's
be
where I
there
went on my
before.
honeymoon.
Oh, good
Oh,
for you.
really?
Yeah.
Well, that's where we
Nice.
got engaged.
Oh, really?
Just-
okay.
yeah,
well,
just a
let's-
few weeks ago.
Well, let's
Yeah.
hear that story then.
Well,
Well, It was
You go.
it was before after the conference.
It was
I'm forgetting now. Before?
before.
Yeah,
It was before.
You
It
can't
was-
say you're forgetting.
Yeah.
It was
Oh,
before.
that's
Let me give you some advice
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
married man.
We can edit that out.
Yeah. Don't say that you
Thank
forget
you,
your
thank you.
engagement story.
So I had already planned to get engaged with her and ask
Did
her
she
to,
have any
ask her to
idea?
marry me. She knew we wanted to. We talked
Yeah.
about it many times.
I knew
so.
it was happening this year. I
Yeah.
just didn't know exactly when.
Yeah.
But because we love Bali, I kind of had a feeling that
Okay.
it might happen there. I was hoping it would happen there. And so, yeah, the first 2 weeks we didn't do much. We explored the island.
Yeah. We love Bali. We'd been there once before together,
Okay.
and so I knew it was the place to propose. And I found a cliffside, a beautiful cliffside. Just not-
Where in Bali were you staying?
Uluwatu. So the first few weeks in Canggu, and then we were in Uluwatu, which we love. And I found a cliff, and I got my drone out, and we went to watch for the sunset, and got the drone spinning around us, and then I got down on one knee. I think she knew because I was shaking, so she was aware a few minutes before, but
Yeah. Even now, thinking back, it's a little bit blurry because it was literally blurry for me because I was crying. So, no, it was very beautiful. The sunset was gorgeous, like right there on a giant cliff. There were other people around, and we got clap. So
Yeah.
that was nice.
then we had a romantic dinner back at our hotel, and
Yeah.
we're really happy. And
I thought you were going to
Excited
say
for
you
the
had the
future.
drone drop the ring.
yeah, yeah, it was just air support.
Yeah.
Did you guys go to any of those small islands off of Bali at all?
No, she's
Well,
been there.
Yeah, I was there years before, and I went to.
Nusa Labangan? Did you go there?
Yes, I went
That's
there.
where we went on our honeymoon.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's beautiful
Oh,
there.
it's amazing.
So beautiful. And when were you there?
That was, well, I better know this because it was my
Putting you
honeymoon.
on the
So
spot.
2000.
Okay.
2000.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were to go now, you wouldn't be able to recognize it.
Okay.
Because
yeah, it was nothing there at the time. This like
Good for you to find that.
little hut.
Yeah.
We had this amazing 2-story bungalow that was $5 a night. Like it was, it
Oh
was,
my gosh,
it was amazing.
heaven.
And the surf was
Yeah.
amazing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, beautiful islands all around there, but the island has changed a lot over the last few years. We went back to Bali earlier this year. I hadn't been there in like 5 years, and I couldn't recognize it. I kept telling him, this wasn't here when I first came. This
Yeah.
wasn't there. And it's grown a lot. So if you were to go back there, you wouldn't recognize it
Won't
whatsoever.
recognize it.
Yeah.
Still beautiful, still wonderful.
Gorgeous. Yeah,
But yeah, it's
yeah.
a lot of change.
Yeah,
But
and
a lot of prosperity
Bitcoiners-
there.
A lot of Bitcoiners already living there, and others planning on
Okay.
moving there too. So it's kind of tempting.
Yeah.
So like, did her family know this was coming, or was it a surprise to everybody?
Yes.
Yeah, they knew. I didn't have a quite up to date when it was going to happen, but then the day of, they knew it was going to happen that night. So they're aware, and we had visited them there in Germany, and we'd visited them the previous, like, it was a year before, and I told them that it was going to happen. And so yeah, they're very excited.
Well,
Yeah.
congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That is, you guys have an awesome love story.
It's pretty cool because the Bitcoiners are like, oh, they're like so supportive, and like,
Yeah.
you don't know 99% of the people out there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
they're like, celebrating with us. So it's
Yeah, and
pretty cool.
Ever since we've been to 3 conferences, so that happened the week before the Bali conference, and then we went to Nostrasia in Japan, and then came here. And at every conference, people would see us and like, hey, congratulations!
Yeah, you got NIMS coming
Yeah.
up to us saying, congrats. We're like,
Yes.
who are you?
So awesome.
Yeah,
Have you guys
it's
set a date yet?
We're working on it.
Working on it?
We're planning on late summer
I
2024.
mean, I
In
feel
Italy.
like you need to get
Yeah.
married in El Salvador. I mean,
Oh, okay. He's making the pitch.
All right. Yeah.
you met on Bitcoin Twitter.
Yeah, yeah.
You
Yeah.
got to get married in Bitcoin country.
Yeah, it
Ooh.
was our first trip after
All right.
all. So yeah.
We'll keep you posted.
Okay.
Wed-
Yeah.
Wedding planning is just
Italy is
beginning.
obviously
Yeah.
beautiful also. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
but that's exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, very happy.
A lot of fun. So then you went to, I can't even pronounce it for some reason. Nostrasia.
Nostrasia.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we're pronouncing
Yeah, I
it
went
right.
straight from Indonesia to Japan for Nostrasia, and that was a completely different conference. It's like considered an unconference, so
Yeah.
there's no like selling of goods and it's free. But it was a really cool conference. Very intimate, great space.
I heard it was
Yeah.
very different than the Costa Rica conference as far as that one was more Bitcoin like overlap, but the one in
Yes.
Japan had less Bitcoin influence.
I think that was intentional too.
Okay.
Because people on Nostr, at least today, aren't all just Bitcoiners, and they really want to promote Nostr. I mean, it's decentralized, but the clients that are being built, they want to promote or get like creators and all different types of people on this new decentralized social media, and then you can orange pill them once they're on there because they're going to see that content creation on Nostr is the future.
Yeah.
And so there was all different types of people there.
Did Jack Dorsey sponsor that one also? I know he
Yes.
kind of.
Yeah, we don't know
Yes.
exactly everything he did, but he
Yeah.
definitely made it happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he was hanging out with the plebs. Like he
Yeah.
watched all the talks, sitting right in the corner,
Barefoot sometimes.
very open to chatting. So it
Yeah.
was cool. And then we even had a Bitcoin meetup one of the nights, which was really, really neat.
Yeah, it was just at the end of the conference, the people that were not Bitcoiners left and the
Okay.
hardcore maxis were there.
Yeah.
And it was a little panel with Jack and VK, Wiz, and I think someone else, I forget now. But yeah, it felt very intimate and we got to talk about Nostr and
Will.
Bitcoin. And
Will,
Will, yes, Will. So yeah, no, it was great. It was very different compared to obviously the conference in Bali, but the general feeling that we got was very positive, and there's a lot of development happening, and we think it's underrated. Because
A lot is like an understatement. It's it's exploding, and it's all very new, so it's hard to keep track
Yeah.
of what's being built and what's going to work or not work.
Yeah.
But the amount of ideas you heard, and
Well,
people,
the fact that it's all decentralized too. And
yeah,
people
it can't be
Yeah.
are
stopped.
just doing their own
and
thing.
anyone can tap into it.
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
like Bitcoin, anyone can tap into the protocol.
Yeah, absolutely. And I had to keep reminding myself that not everyone there was a Bitcoiner,
Yeah.
or at least not yet.
Yeah, because we lead with Bitcoin.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, I think eventually they will understand Bitcoin because for a lot of them, it's just a tool. But if you're in Nostr for the decentralized and the censorship resistant freedom aspect of it, then inevitably
Which I would think
you'll get to
most
Bitcoin.
people would, because some things are a little more complicated than centralized systems, at least at this
Yeah.
point. So
Yeah.
it seems like most people in Nostr have an ideological
Right.
attraction.
Right.
To it.
Yeah, yeah.
And so then it's trying to bring the other personality types into Nostr.
Yeah.
But you go to the Nostr website and it looks like it's for developers. So it's just like the user experience needs to get better, and they all know that. Everyone that's building on it knows that. But it's still so new. But eventually it's going to, I mean, when you get on Nostr and then you get your first zap for making content or just writing a post, and someone zaps you Bitcoin for doing that, it's like you realize that this is the future of content creation and rewarding creators for their work. And so it's still so early. There's a lot of hiccups and glitches, and a lot of people complain about it that you try to talk to them about Nostr. But
it's a work
eventually,
in progress. Yeah, it's only 3 years old.
gradually, then suddenly.
Yeah.
So did you guys fly straight from there to here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Because it was when did that event end?
It was November
7th.
1st
Oh
to
yeah, first to the third.
3rd.
Okay.
Yeah.
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 Then we had
And
an
we flew
extra day in Japan, and then we flew
On the 5th.
on the 5th. Yeah, 15-hour flight to Toronto,
Yeah.
and then here.
Yeah.
So
it was
is this journey going to continue, or are you guys just like on this perpetual
no,
pre-honeymoon?
Yeah.
no, we're headed home after this. So
Okay.
Mexico.
Okay.
We need a break.
Where in Mexico are you guys? At?
We're in Guadalajara.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There's some Bitcoiners there too. We have a nice little Bitcoin meetup going
Yeah.
on.
A funny story with
A lot
that
of
is,
shitcoiners there too, right?
Oh yeah. Well, they're everywhere.
That's one thing you realize. There's shitcoiners
Yeah.
everywhere,
Unfortunately.
and especially where the money's wrecked, where the money's broken. Shitcoinery. People are doing anything they can to make a living,
Yeah.
And so shitcoinery is like attacks that, that mindset. But yeah, no, funny story. I was playing basketball one day in Guadalajara and saw a guy with a Coinbits shirt, and I was like, "Hey, Bitcoiner, yes." And turns out, yes, he was. And within 1 week, we found out that he had a cafe right next to our building. Orange pilled his cafe so it accepts Bitcoin, and now every Saturday we have like open meetup where people can come have a coffee. It's usually like 5 to 10 people, and then we have a regular monthly meetup that's growing, which is
Nice.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and the majority of the people there are locals, so that's always nice to see, you know. But we also have a lot of expats that had either been to Mexico before or that they moved there recently and they just want to connect with other Bitcoiners, and they come sometimes for the introduction at the cafe. It's a normal chit chat. We don't necessarily talk about Bitcoin, but you know, when you relate with other Bitcoiners, you can talk about pretty much anything. And then eventually they end up joining on the monthly meetup that we have there. Some hardcore maxis there. And yeah, the presentations vary from, you know, Lightning and adoption. So a bit of everything. So yeah, it's nice to have a little community there growing.
At your home.
Yeah, exactly.
So circling back to the Bitcoin circular economies, how do you explain to people like where we're at in the process? I mean, obviously we're still trying to close the loop and things being truly circular. That's
Still
one of the
early.
things I struggle with even to describe to people, because people ask, is it real? Is it? And I'm like, you got to come see it for yourself, because you can have the same group of people visit the same locations and one person be like, this is amazing, we're so far ahead. And the other person be like, oh, I thought it'd be much further along than this. So.
and it's like, what's your definition of a circular economy? Is it that you pay them, you can operate just on Sats, you can live on a Bitcoin standard, or does the restaurant need to be sourcing all of their goods and paying in Bitcoin? And so it's like there's a spectrum, and then there's even a spectrum on if you're not using custodial or non-custodial Lightning.
Yeah, that too.
So it ranges, but from our experience, I mean, these places around the world are the new frontier. I mean, we still don't know exactly what a circular economy means yet, and but these places are really breaking the ground. They're the pioneers. They're the ones actually doing Bitcoin things. I think you had a really good quote. I don't know when it was. It could have been a while ago, but you said something like, "There's OG Bitcoiners out there that have used Lightning less than children in El Zonte," and it's cool. I mean, we need both ends of the spectrum, but in these places, Bitcoin is actually being used and actually being experimented on and iterated on, and then each community is figuring out ways that it works best for them. Like example in Costa Rica, Lee from Bitcoin Jungle and Francis and Paul, their situation's unique. Everyone in Costa Rica has a banking app, like similar to like Venmo. It's called SynPay, that is connected to a phone number. They can use it on the phone number. So if you can't operate with SynPay, there's no point in using Bitcoin, because they need an off ramp. And so Francis and Lee had just developed on that and created an off ramp. And so now you're seeing Costa Ricans use it regularly. You can pay for gas with Bitcoin. You can pay for delivery with Bitcoin.
I did a show with Francis yesterday,
cool.
actually, and
Nice.
he was like, yeah, you can basically use it anywhere now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so every place needs those custom solutions.
Yeah.
And that's where Bitcoin really gets fully integrated into those communities, and then it goes from there. So
Yeah, you're gonna start somewhere. A lot of people are very strict when it comes to self-custody, and so they expect that adoption entails every merchant, let's say, holding their own keys right away. But it's a process. You can't orange pill someone and expect them to know how Bitcoin works right away. So I think apps like Blink are very, very useful, because you get to play around with Lightning. You see how it works, and then eventually you're like, okay, I'm gathering a significant amount of money on here. I need to actually keep it safe. what should I do next? And that's when you come to learn about
Next level of
self-custody. So,
education.
yeah.
And it's a
Yeah,
funny
step.
thing. We go around and we go to these conferences and we have to accept Bitcoin, obviously because it's easier, and we're interacting with Bitcoiners, so we're always using Bitcoin. And you could have we've had like very legit smart Bitcoiners that have been around the whole time. You know, they'll have a wallet that's connected to their node back home, the most proper way you could do it, and it doesn't work. It doesn't work.
Yeah, it's
and
always
they're
glitchy.
like, I don't know what's happening. It's like, well, this is where a custodial Lightning wallet works better in these cases.
Yeah, 'cause they
because
switched
we
to-
can rely on it for small payments. Of course, we're not saying that people shouldn't hold their keys. Of course, they need to, but there's solution for things, and there's got to be a middle ground.
Yeah. So when
You got to be
when it-
pragmatic about
Pragmatic.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Because
Yeah.
so many times we've had someone come up to our booth and want to buy a T-shirt, and they're trying to pay in their own little way, and
Something's
you're
wrong with my node.
waiting, and they're like, "Oh no, it's not working. Let me switch to Wallet of Satoshi," and it's an instant. So,
Or
yeah.
Blink. Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
No, it's and obviously there's dangers of custodial wallets. Even
For
Absolutely.
sure.
there's
For
you know
sure.
the one everybody talks about is being rug pull. But what I found, I had my Wallet of Satoshi wallet drained because somebody hacked my email, and through my email was able to
think I-
reset the password. And you know, I thankfully don't keep much
Yeah,
in
yeah.
anything like
Yeah,
that.
no,
So it
nobody
wasn't,
should. Yeah.
but it was eye opening to me. Like, okay, it's not just the danger of getting rug pulled by the wallet. I mean, whatever your recovery way is to recover your account, whether it's your phone number or email, that's another. So it's good for people to be aware. But I'm still
For
a big
sure.
proponent. I love Wallet of Satoshi because
Yeah.
it's just easy and it works. And a lot of times that will be the first one I'll tell somebody about, especially if it's somebody from the U.S. because Blink doesn't allow Americans
Right.
on. So
yeah.
I'm kind of like, hey, let's look at this as varying degrees.
Multifaceted
Yeah.
approach.
Yeah, for sure. Like whenever we travel to one of these communities, we like to top up Wall of Satoshi or Blink and have a little bit of like small amounts on
Yeah.
there so that we know we can rely on it. And we like playing around with different wallets.
We've
too,
got all
so-
the apps.
Yeah.
We've got all the wallets. We've got too many wallets.
yeah.
Well, I found out some of mine that I had that I'd forgotten about that had, I don't know, 10,000 sats or something because they drained a couple other ones like that too. They
Right.
like, wow, these people found all my old wallets by
Wow.
hacking into my email. It was,
Ouch.
yeah. So,
It's,
so
a,
that's
good, it's a
something.
good reminder.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's
Oh,
a
for
good
sure.
a good story to tell because that could happen to anyone if they're not being. And it's easy to not be secure with your things. Like that was a high level attacker that got you.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
So
mean,
that
it's
could happen
part
to
of-
anyone.
It's part of the orange pilling process. I think that when you introduce someone to Bitcoin, you might show them a Lightning transaction on Wallet of Satoshi because it's convenient or Blink, but always tell them, okay, this is how it begins, how it starts for you, but then you need to learn about self custody because that's the point of Bitcoin. You don't have to rely on a third party to hold your keys,
Yeah.
to hold your property. So like eventually people get there.
And I think that the custodial aspects of Lightning is going to become a political target. I think just
For
like
sure.
they've gone after the banks, they're
For
going to
sure.
start going
Yeah.
after the wallet providers. So
Yeah.
definitely it is
It's-
very important that we push people to self-custody.
It's an
For
attack.
But,
It's an attack vector.
but you can be
absolutely.
pragmatic at the same time and as
Absolutely.
far as using.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
So what's the future hold for you guys? You said you're going back to Mexico. And
Yeah.
Between then and when you get married in El Salvador,
I mean that we go home and then we go figure out next year 2024.
but
Yeah,
the apparel business is your full-time thing. I know you're writing also. I know you've written some stuff for Bitcoin Magazine and I
Yeah.
think Bitcoin News.
Yep. Yeah.
But is that like, are you guys in the Bitcoin industry? Like, is this
Yes.
your full?
We're not
We
leaving.
well, the thing is, we always looked at this as like our way to be around Bitcoiners, and for the most part, it's a way to get to conferences, a way to be around Bitcoiners because that's who we connect with most. So it started as just a T-shirt thing, a small thing, and then it's led into other things. Doing writing for Bitcoin News, Bitcoin Magazine. We're creating content, videos, trying to bring awareness to these places. So who knows where it actually goes? It could be turned into more of a media company or something. But yeah, for the foreseeable future, I mean, we're going to be all in. I feel like once you become orange pilled, you're always all in. Even if you're fiat mining, you're in Bitcoin. So we're going to be in it any way we can, and we'll see where that takes us in the future.
Like you were saying at the beginning of the conversation that, sometimes people think, well, I'm not technical, so what role am I going to play, or how can I be in the industry? But you see, everybody finds their little niches. We did a show with Lena, who did the little hodler, plushie, and does the cartoons. And, I mean, she's turned this into this like legitimate full business.
Awesome business. And it's cool going to conferences because this time, adopting Bitcoin, we are looking at each other. There's like two things we noticed. There's far more females here than any other conference we've ever been to. And there's babies everywhere. So
there is a Bitcoin baby boom for sure. I think Bitcoiners are just, they're more optimistic about the future.
I take the Stefan Livera aspect. He's like, we got to outbreed them, But but I was gonna say for conferences, it's like women are really good at planning events. So you're seeing all these women working at conferences as we travel around the world. More and more women are coming in that way, and so it's like the industry is just scratching the surface. It's gonna absolutely explode, and so there's gonna be jobs everywhere, and it's just the beginning.
For sure.
Well, that's what I always tell people: if you don't have to try to be somebody you're not. Like, find what you're good at and how you can plug into it, because there is the need for all these different things.
Absolutely. There's always a way for you to contribute to this space. Like, we didn't think that, making t-shirts was going to take us to where we are today, but, you'll learn along the way for sure. And we're planning on going to check out other communities. We'll see which one.
We need to get to Africa.
You got to get the Bitcoin Akasi.
Bitcoin Akasi,
you got to get down to see all the communities where Motive's working.
We need to go to Peru. We need to go to Brazil. So those are just the communities, and then we have conferences we want to go to. We want to go to the Freedom Fest in Costa Rica in January. We're definitely going to go to Madeira for Bitcoin Atlantis.
The halving party.
There's a halving party
here.
I know. I keep telling my wife, I'm like, I'm going to stop traveling. This is my year. I'm going to stay here. I'm going to get out surfing, get back in shape. And then I'm like, but I really want to go to Madeira, and I already committed to Costa Rica.
There's so many. Every year there's more and more.
So many.
And you just want to go.
And you always feel like, no, but I'm going to miss out.
FOMO.
Exactly.
The FOMO is real.
So hard.
And that goes back to what we said before. Is like, we wanted to see all the little communities. It's impossible. They're exploding. Exploding. And we just saw an updated map that Blink put together, and I couldn't even see all the different little logos representing the communities. So it's really exciting, and then it becomes more localized, like all the different communities in one country or one state or one province, and the representation is just going to grow and grow and grow.
Andrew's with Blink's done an amazing, or Gallo, he's done an amazing job, like updating and keeping on top
and
of
making sure they're legit. Verifying. Don't trust verify,
No, a lot of times I'll always check with him. Hey, what's going on with this, or what's new?
He's a good source.
He's a great source. We love him. Andrew's the man.
So first off, how can people buy have we covered everything? I want to make sure we don't miss anything that you guys wanted to talk about.
I think we did a pretty good job.
Okay.
But we need to make sure people know where they can get these amazing apparel from. So I don't even know, where are you guys based, or can people get stuff worldwide, or how does that work?
So we ship international.
Okay.
You can find us at hodlingapparel.com. Hodl, HODL, and then ING, apparel.com. And we sell virtually everywhere internationally. And
we accept Bitcoin.
We accept Bitcoin. Which is
hope
great.
So.
And we actually just added a feature where we're working with Oshi, and instead of giving a discount to incentivize Bitcoin paying, we give sats back. So we give essentially a 3% discount for buying in Bitcoin. After you make the purchase, you instantly get an email where you can claim your sats based off your purchase, and it's like magic. You get an email, instant. Boom, get your sats back. So we do a little cool Lightning transaction that way.
And we give 1% back as well in sats for whoever pays in fiat. So we'll take fiat too for the time being.
So we'll try to orange pill the fiat users too.
Exactly.
But we're on Twitter under the same name, Hodling Apparel, and Instagram. We're trying to work our way into Instagram more. I know not a lot of Bitcoin activity on there, but we're trying to.
But it is
expose-
that,
we're trying to
and I
expose
think
other people.
yeah, I think that's important because it's everything in Bitcoin happens on Twitter, but most of the world much more likely to be on Instagram.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
you realize the community is small. Like
Yeah.
even though it seems huge on Twitter, it's actually much smaller than you think.
Yeah.
And so yeah, any way we can, we're on all the socials and Noster.
Yeah.
And,
It's a lot of work, but
yeah, and we
trying
give
our
back. I mean, the purpose of the site really was to give back and support places like Bitcoin Beach and Hope House, and focus mainly on education and giving back to the people doing the real work on the ground to help
Which is-
educate kids.
which is what inspired this T-shirt as well. Like all the work that Mi Primer Bitcoin has been doing over the past 2 years.
Yeah,
Very
they're an
inspiring.
amazing
Probably-
organization.
Probably the
Yeah,
coolest
yeah.
Bitcoin company, I think. Like, it's
Yeah.
amazing the amount of volunteer work and like just grassroots potential it has, and they've
Yeah.
already done so much in this short amount of time.
Yeah, adoption is not inevitable, but you gotta start with the education
Yeah.
first. Yeah. For sure.
And then you're bringing in the people who need it the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I'd hate to see Bitcoin adoption to just come from the people that are already benefiting from the system we have now to be the first one.
I think
Yeah.
it's a time we're against the clock, and I think with the more Bitcoin we can get in more people's hands, the more decentralized it is, and the more people that can benefit from it. Obviously, as Bitcoiners, we know that this is a 1,000-year technology, and it will last potentially forever. But the more people that we can help, and the more people that can get Bitcoin, the system will rebalance itself, and we'll have a really good change.
Yeah.
I think.
Well, I think that's a good note to end on. Make sure you guys go to the site, buy the apparel. You guys have some super cool designs.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I love.
We try.
Yeah, they're just very unique and different.
Yeah. Yeah,
So-
we wanted to do something a little different compared to what else is out there in the market.
So get your gifts for your Bitcoin family members for
Yeah.
Christmas.
The Christmas, yeah.
Hopefully, we'll have some children's
Apparel.
apparel
Yeah.
available soon.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll be a good Christmas
Yeah, a lot of
present.
requests
Orange
for
pill
that,
little ones.
Yeah.
It's all about the next generation. So
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll have to. I guess we'll have to make this like a yearly thing at Adopting Bitcoin. Have you guys
Yeah.
on afterwards and get some updates.
Yeah,
love
we'll
to.
be married by
Right.
then, by the next one. So
yeah,
Wow.
that'll be fun.
yeah.
We, if it's gonna be in El Salvador, you
Yeah.
gotta let us know.
You'll get an
So,
invite.
Yeah.
Thanks for everything you do. It's an honor to be on the podcast.
Yes,
And,
thank you so much.
Yeah, you started an incredible fire in the world.
It's been a fun ride.
Yeah.
All right. Well, once again, congratulations.
Thank you, thank you.
We will be waiting. All of Bitcoin Twitter will be waiting for their wedding invitation.
Yeah. We have to
Yes,
select
for
some
sure.
people.
Thank you.
Thank you.